Oh, what's cracking, y'all? It's me, Quin, the movie guy here. And cinema has nearly been around for most of our lives, even going so far back into the early 19th century. The action movie genre has gained tremendous amounts of attention, and the Indiana Jones trilogy in particular is among one, if not the most recognizable film franchises, not just in the action genre, but in the history of cinema as a whole. So, I thought I'd like to start things off by venturing deep into the reasons why this is so.
The Birth of Action Movies, Exhibit A, The Great Train Robbery, 1903. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Well, let's try to dial it back a bit because I'm still mentally recovering from Crystal Skull. Never mind, I take it back. I fell asleep during Crystal Skull, but the point still stands. The film follows the iconic titular character racing against time to retrieve a legendary artifact that has the potential to change the course of history. Accompanied by his granddaughter Helena, played by Phoebe Waller-Bridge, he finds himself squaring off against an old foe played by Mads Mikkelsen. The original Indiana Jones trilogy has cemented itself time and time again as the very face of the action movie genre and garnered a lot of universal appeal in terms of its depiction of pursuing knowledge, but it comes at a cost. And that cost deals with themes of good, evil, and for one's own thirst for adventure. So, going into this movie, it made all the more sense for my skepticism to reach greater heights, because the last film was an absolute snooze fest. And that was until I found out that James Mangold is going to be sitting at the director's chair.
This man is without a doubt the most reliable director to be even given some semblance of popular material. In short, I can trust this guy to direct my divorce, and I have absolutely nothing but high praise. Logan, banger. Ford v Ferrari, banger. So upon finding out that he will be in charge of an Indiana Jones movie, alright! Sorry. Anyway, I'm in between my own horn here because everyone knows that when it comes to popular franchises, things tend to turn to shit. Case in point, Star Wars. And speaking of Star Wars, Lucasfilm.
Somehow Palpatine.
Want to know what else could somehow return?
A big mug of my foot up your ass.
Walking out of this movie is like walking out of a club. You never know what to expect. Are you about to punch out your virginity card, or are you going to be the first person who's going to get roofied the second you turn around to try to punch out your virginity card? Luckily, I came out of it unscathed, because I could be accused of committing one of the most blasphemous crimes known to mankind. Having an opinion. I know, it's fucking terrifying. I don't know what's worse, this or the fact that when I say I get censored against my will.
Dial of Destiny certainly has its moments of thrill-seeking wonder, and it was very obvious from the first 20 minutes. James Mangold absolutely captured the nostalgic appeal of the original trilogy, and noticeable de-aging aside, it was a great introduction to a film that tried its best to live up to expectations, but ultimately falling flat, just right around the middle. There's no denying that Harrison Ford loves being in movies. I mean, have you seen him raving about his Han Solo role?
It was really a long time ago, and it feels like it was far, far away.
Yeah.
But I hear they're thinking of doing another one.
This man plays a character that would really do anything to put something in a museum, no matter the cost. When as a matter of fact, he himself belongs in a museum. There was a reason why he came back to do this role one last time. No. The other reason. Kidding aside, you gotta give high respect to him because despite being in his 80s, he could still pull off the illusion of something your grandpappy wished he could do without breaking his back a la Tobey Maguire style. He delivered big time despite it being obvious that he is not in his prime anymore to do any of these stunts that the films have always been known for. As for the action sequences, what else can I say other than it still has some bit of that classic indie feel to it, just with enough modernity to somewhat appeal to people who may or may have not seen the original trilogy. While it isn't exactly the most grandiose of the franchise, Dial of Destiny proves to some degree that there are elements to it that are 100 times better than Crystal Skull, because the only difference between this one and Crystal Skull is that this film doesn't overstay its welcome, and that's not necessarily to be identified as a fault. I still had a decent amount of fun with it, just not to the same level that I've had with the original trilogy. Mangold definitely nailed this one out of the park because I can sense his ingenuity, especially when it comes to the first opening chase sequence of the movie. And I thought the chase scenes were somewhat enjoyable, well, except when they were starting to get a little bit silly. Mads Mikkelsen. You can pretty much give this guy a horrible script where he plays a villain and he turned that horrible script into a living magnum opus. Because he's always the most experienced when playing the part. And in Dial of Destiny, it's no different. You can tell that this guy had a lot of fun. Even when there are some scenes wherein he is just calm, but deep inside you know that he is already calculating his next move towards our protagonists. He was amazing in the movie, and I kind of feel ashamed walking out of it knowing that they could have done his development a little bit better. And that's my next discussion, which is going to transition over into my issues with the film. The writing.
What's this? What the fuck is this, motherfucker? Despite it being easy for me to be vocal about my feelings surrounding this movie, it is also easy for me to identify that the writing almost completely fell through faster than the boulder chasing Indy in Raiders of the Lost Ark. The runtime of this movie is 2 hours and 22 minutes, and holy fucking shit, I felt those 2 hours and 22 minutes. I'm not gonna shut up about the first 20 minutes of this movie, because I'm just speaking from the heart here. There were certain parts of this movie where it felt like they were obligated to keep up with the hype generated from that scene alone. And they tried. I know they tried. Because ultimately, the pacing is the one to blame here. Not to mention, the amount of locations that have been incorporated throughout this whole film weren't just there for show. They served an integral purpose to help move the plot forward, albeit rather a bit sluggish. Which brings me to my next point. Phoebe Waller-Bridge's character is one of the most unbearable parts in this movie. Back then, I had no idea that there was even gonna be another female protagonist that's gonna be even more annoying than Rey. Thus fate has proven me wrong once again. Don't get me wrong, the actress is not at fault here. She did a good job. A good job at making me feel like I just wanna...
お前はもう死んでいる。何?
Every time she tries to sprout out any single line of dialogue, I just want to leave the theater, like, straight up. At the very least, she doesn't try to overshadow Indy in any way, shape, or form, because at the end of the day, the heart of this movie lies in Indiana Jones as a whole. It does not completely derail the movie, but you can't help but get the feeling that this movie would be 10 times better with Helena being a scrap concept character, because if you think about it, they just gave us a random character and they expect us to give a shit. Overall, while Dial of Destiny definitely had some minor trajectories, it does not detract from the fact that this was a near-perfect finale to a franchise that should have ended years ago. To further summarize, Harrison Ford delivers on the ride that will continue to cement his role as one of cinema's most iconic characters. It isn't perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but if you put all the cons that I laid out to bed, you can still surely have a damn good time at the movies. Which leads me to my next point.
Film franchises. Bullshit.